Okay, so let's start. First of all, can you check your work area? You need no space, nothing above your head, plenty of space around you. Watch you're not going to bash anything sharp. If I've said you need a chair, make sure your chair's nearby. If we discuss that you need a band for one of the exercises, have that close by. Let's just start with a little bit of warm up. Thinking about your posture, feet hip width apart, and take the weight through the feet, going backwards and forwards. Make it a small movement, doesn't have to be big, just feel the weight changing. Now, you all know where your pelvis should be. You all know about whether your hips are in the right position, but think about it again now. Have a look down quickly. Check that your knees and hips are above your ankles, that you've not got your hips forward or you're sticking your bottom out. Have a quick look at your knees as well. Are they pointing forward or are they off kilter? If you are standing in on your ankle, your knee might come across. If you're standing out, the knee or knees might go outwards. So watch what's going on there. Now, let's start with the feet. What I want you to do is lift the toes. Just spread them slightly, lift them. Relaxed. That's going to prove to you that your weight is in your feet. Now, you should have the weight evenly between the back of the foot and those two pads on the inside and outside of the main part of the foot. And I want you to engage your core. Keep breathing. Pull up the pelvic floor and push the ends of the toes down into the mat and feel those arches lift as you push down and release it all. Let's do the same again. Lift the toes, nice and relaxed. Engage the core. Pull up the pelvic floor and push those toes and let the arches rise. Lovely. Okay, once more, lifting the toes gently. Engage. Pull up the pelvic floor. Pressing the toes down into the mat. From there, let's do a little knee bend, so softly bent, and I want you to tuck your pelvis backwards. So stick your bottom out slightly, come back to neutral, standing back up. Let's do the same again. Coming part way down, tilting back to neutral and back up. Let's do that once more. Coming down, tilting back, coming neutral and back up. This time you're going to tilt forwards. So tilting the bottom under, come to neutral and back up. Let's try that again. Softly bending the knees, tuck under, come back center and up, coming down, tucking forward, coming center, back up. Keep breathing, engaging the core. Let's just move the arms. So gently forward and open back. So as you're doing this, I want you to keep your ribs where they are. So watch you're not jutting them forward. It's purely the arms. We're keeping them low for now. And then pull back. 2, 3, 4. Coming forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. 2, 3. Now you can either keep it there if you're having problems with your arms at all, or we're going to take it higher. So we're going to do little fingers forward, thumbs back. Remember to engage the core. Be really aware of your posture as you're doing this. Where's the weight in your feet? Can you lift those toes? Have you got your core engaged? Have you pulled up your pelvic floor? Taking the hands down. Now, one hand on the front of your rib cage, the other on the back. And what I want you to do is push your ribs forward into the front hand and back into the back hand. Forward into the front hand and back into the back. Just feel that rib cage moving forward and back. Come center and hold it there. So we're now going to go back down to the feet. And I want you to lift up on both toes. So all I'm doing here is coming up on both toes and back down. Just come as high as you can without wobbling. So really be aware of what's going on with your ankles. If you've got a weakness in one of your ankles, it might start to wobble. So make that movement smaller. If you feel you need to support your hips, you can put your hands on your hips, which will help. So really good for getting those calf muscles moving, and it helps the blood to flow back to the heart. Just lift and lower. Now, if here I suggested you went to a chair, now is the time to go to your chair. If not, you can move with me. So right leg first. You're going to bend the knee of the right leg slightly, the other leg stays straight. Keep the pelvis as stable as possible. You're going to come forward, back, forward, and change. Forward, back, forward. So we're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. You've got the core engaged, and release. Keep going. If you're doing the seated version, you can either lift a straightened leg and hold as long as you comfortably can, or you're just going to lift a bent knee. So rest of you with me. Back, forward, and change. Forward, forward. If you need to put the toe on the ground, that's fine too. We're looking to keep the pelvis as still as possible. Okay, let's take it to a circle. Keep going. So again, with that one, you can take it as high as you can without wobbling. If you start to wobble, you need to make it smaller. If you're sitting on your chair, you can still do. It's not going to help the balance, but this is about mobility in the hips if you're seated. So keep it as small as you need to. Those that are standing, you're going to be working on core stability as well. So really think about engaging the core. 2 or 3 one side, change side. If you haven't already changed, you need to be working on the other side. Always be aware when you've had enough and your form starts to go, when you start to wobble, it's time to change sides. We're looking to do about the same amount on both sides. And release. I'm going to move my chair out of the way and we're going to come down to the floor. Pilates roll down. So what I'd like you to do, let's bend the knees slightly. Bring the chin to the chest and come down. Part way. And back up. Take those shoulders back without lifting the chest. Get your posture, get that chin retracted. And let's go again, chin to chest. Think of coming over the top of a ball, extending the neck, coming down and back up. I'm going to ask you to come down once more and up before you join me on the floor. Okay, so feet hip width apart. So have a quick look, see what's happening here. Are your feet pointing forward? Are your knees in alignment? Watch they're not dropping out or dropping in. Spread those toes, lift your arches, just do that movement with the feet again. So lifting the toes, engage your core, push the end of those toes down and feel those arches lift and release. And again, lift. Engage your core, push those toes down, feel the arches lift. And let's go to piano toes. I'll turn around slightly. You can be sitting whichever direction suits you at the moment. We're going to try and lift the toes one at a time. So start with the big toe. Try 1 foot at a time. So right foot first, big toe. Move them up one at a time and down. You might think you can't do this, but I promise if you practice, it does get easier. We're getting more mobility in the feet. So you can do it 2 or 3 times on the right side. If you're really struggling, then stick at 2. If you're managing to do it at least 3 times. We really want to be getting this movement in the feet, ready for wearing our sandals in the summer when we're out and about and seeing each other again, we hope. Let's go back to the other side now, if you haven't already. Left side. I find this one really hard. Big toe will not come up on its own. I think I've been practicing the right more than the left. A lot of it's mind over matter. Look at the toes, will them to move. And if you're feeling really brave, you can see if you lift the little toe first. I'm not going to do that today though. Let's move on. So let's go back to that position. I want you to be sideways onto me because we're going to be moving onto our side shortly. But feet hip width apart. Make sure you've got enough space either side of you. I'm going to need to move across so that you can take your arms out to the side. But we're going to come back part way and back up. Okay, to start with. If you need to, you can hold your knees. You can slide your hands down. Or you can leave the hands above. So we're letting the vertebrae roll down one at a time. Now, if you want to make it a little harder, add your right arm in the air. So really feeling it through the abdominals. You're engaging the core. Keep breathing. Breathing out as you go back. Particularly out as you're lifting that arm. Keeping the feet on the floor. If your feet are coming up, you're not in control. So therefore you need to either leave out the arm or make the move slightly smaller. So nothing wrong with holding your knees if you need to. Getting some movement there. Might be feeling that in your hip flexors as well. Okay, coming back up, those that can. Just be aware that this is a rotational movement, so be very cautious if you've got osteoporosis. But arms forward and rotate. So if you're concerned about weak bones, hang on to your knee, keep that rotation small. If you're absolutely sure you've got no problems at all, you can take the arms away and reach all the way back. Remember, listen to your body, be aware of your own body, and only do as much as is safe for you. This is really working those oblique muscles, the side of the tummy. Finishing on the left side, so make sure you've evened it up, same number each side. We're going to do something a little simpler. So rolling back down onto your mat. Let's get our position perfect on the floor. So first of all, think about your neck position. You're going to extend that head up so you've got a nice long neck. If you need a block underneath, no more than 1 inch preferably. Keep it as close to the floor as possible. And what I want you to do is open up across the centre of the back. So really open up across the shoulders and let those arms relax by the side of the body. Now let's go to the bottom end, to our feet. I'm going to get you to put your feet together and just check that the heels and toes are in alignment. Sometimes one leg goes further forward than the other, I've noticed in classes. So keep them together, toes out, heels out. That's going to approximate to your hip width apart. And now I want to work on the pelvis. So hands on that bony protrusion on the top of the hips. And let's just push the back into the mat and arch the other way. So moving one way and the other, just as far as is comfortable for you. Just become aware of what's going on. Now while you're doing that, try and keep the knees as still as possible. Now let's check our final position. I'd like you to put the heels of your hands on that bony protrusion and create that diamond shape on the top of your body. So your thumbs come towards your belly button, your fingers down towards your pubis, and just have a quick look. Lift your head slightly and see, is that diamond parallel to the floor, or have you tipped the fingers towards the sky, in which case you need to turn the other way? Or are your thumbs higher than your fingers? They should be about level. That is your neutral position. I'd like you to try and hold that position with your core muscles. So you're going to engage your core and keep that back in that position. Slip your fingers underneath, if you can comfortably. Slip your fingertips underneath, and I want you to feel what's happening with your back as we go for leg slides. So sliding one leg along the floor, heel slides. Nice, easy movement, really. But be really aware of what's going on as you make that move with your foot. What's happening with your lower back? Is it staying still, or is your pelvis moving? If it's moving, you need to engage that core. Really control it as you take that foot away and bring it back in. Breathing out as the foot slides away. in as it comes back in. Now we're going to release the hands. And the next bit's optional. Anyone with arm problems is going to leave this one out. Arms up in the sky. Let's take opposite arm away. So what you need to be aware of here, one is you're still watching your back as before, but also that you're not lifting your rib cage. So as the arm goes above your head, you might find that in order to get the hand to the floor, you're lifting your ribs. If that's the case, don't take the arm so high, just as far as is comfortable. Okay, and release. Taking the hands back onto the pelvis so that you can feel what's going on. So onto those bony protrusions on the top of the hips, and we're going to go for knee drops. So engaging your core, keeping that lower back and pelvis as still as possible. You're going to drop your right knee towards the mat, just as far as it can go without the pelvis moving. Nice and controlled. Breathe in, coming back. Breathing out, control. Try and keep your buttocks relaxed. And back in. Now that's our basic movement. We come back to this one later and I will add a harder version for those that want it. We're going to stay with the basic one. Now shortly I'm going to move onto our side to do the clam or oyster. Anyone who's struggling with lying on their side at the moment are going to wrap the band around their knees and continue with this movement, but with the band around. And whereas at the moment we're looking at mobility and stability in the pelvis, for the next exercise with the band around, you're going to be concentrating on working the bottom muscles and pushing against the resistance of the band. Okay, so those that are putting a band around, put your band around your knees now. Everybody else, I want you to turn onto your side. You're going to start off in a straight line. Line yourself up with your mat all the way down, if you can, with your arm the long way. If you've got a towel, you can stick it under your arm. If you haven't, or that's uncomfortable, take your hand under your head. Try and make sure that your neck and body are relaxed. Create that tripod with the hand in front so that you don't rock forward. Now you have an option here. No, you don't. I'm lying. I'm doing a different exercise. We're going to bring the feet back in line with your bottom and head. So if you were lying against a wall, they would all be touching. So just double check that you've not got your knees too far forward. Feet stay together. You're going to lift that top knee, the clam or oyster. Now, once you've got that going, you probably don't need the tripod. Have a feel of what's going on with your pelvis, with your hip. Put your fingers on the outside of your hip bone and just check that you're not allowing that to drop backwards. Also watch that you're not allowing it to fall forwards. And you should be feeling this sort of in your back pocket, really. So we're going to do about 8. And as with all these exercises, if you've had enough rest, you can join in again if you wish, or wait for the next exercise. Let's leave the knees on the ground, lift both feet, and let's go to lifting the top leg. And again, about 8. If this exercise, it doesn't feel so good for you, go back to the previous version or rest and join back in when you're ready. Quite slow and controlled. The slower you do it, the harder this is. Now, if any of you have got anything left in you, you can do a few, extending that leg out. You might manage about 4. I usually find after doing 8 of each of the others that about 4 is the maximum I'm going to manage. So if you can, join me. If you haven't, then maybe you need to try this video again on replay and see if you can get it at a later date. Unless, of course, you've got hip problems. Okay, from there, Bring that forward. Let's give it a bit of a stretch out. I'm going to go back onto our backs. Again, check your position. Elongate that neck. Open up across the back. Check your spine. Feet together, toes out, heels out. And what I want you to do here is really engage the core, and we're going to work the abdominals. So I'm going to get you to bring your right knee into the chest without letting the back drop. Left knee into the chest. Now you're going to take them one at a time out until you feel that engage on the core. So you should have the knees over the body here. Nothing else is happening now. You're going to tap your right toe down, bring it up. Left toe down, bring it up. Now, if that feels too much for you, take the foot to the ground, leave it there and bring them up and down one at a time, which gives a similar movement but is a little bit easier. But for those of you that can, from that position, you're going to move from the hip. So remember, you're not bending the knee, it's coming from the hip. That knee stays at about 90 degrees in tabletop position. When you've had enough, hug your knees into the chest, but try and do both sides. Be really aware of what's going on with your pelvis. Is your lower back staying in that nice relaxed position? Bring the knees in. Give yourself a little bit of a hug. Rock the back round. Just give it a bit of a chance to relax and release. We're going to come round onto the other side for the clam or oyster. Or you're going to lie onto your back and put the band round and either do the opposite leg, or if you did alternating legs before, alternating legs. Starting off in a nice straight line. Again, if you've got your towel, you can stick your towel under here. If not, relax, but make sure that neck's relaxed. Sliding those feet up in alignment with the body at the bottom. You can do the tripod, or you can put your hand to feel what's going on here, and we're going to lift. I quite like to put my elbow against my hip and just rest my fingers on the floor, because I can still feel whether or not that pelvis is moving. Try and keep that head nicely relaxed. You're feeling it in your back pocket, just behind the seam of your trousers. Be really aware of what's going on with that pelvis. Have you let your waist drop towards the floor? We're trying to keep that spine in neutral. So if particularly if you've got a thinner waist, very easy to drop that waist towards the floor. I've lost count. I'm going to assume that's 7. If you're ahead of me and you're counting, then do move on if I've got it wrong. Okay. I'm going to assume that's 8. Float the feet. Remember, you have the option to stay with the previous version, to rest and join back in, or just to rest and wait for the next exercise. And for those that have got it left in them, and remember, you can stop and join back in. You can go back to an easier version, or you can wait. Can I wait? I don't want to do this last one. Ooh, last one. And rest. If you managed to stay to the end, well done. I found that one really hard today. Stay where you are and watch me for a moment, because the next exercise is a little harder. I'm going to try and do it without shouting into my microphone. My microphone does have a tendency to echo. You're going to be lying on your front, and you're going to have your hands underneath. So you're going to be in a lying position. And what I'm going to get you to do is lift the head away from the floor. One hand will stay supporting you, and the other one will come back up. Alternating if you can. Obviously, if you've got a slightly dodgy arm, you're going to have to adapt and maybe just let the arm rest by the side. Adapt accordingly. Just be really aware of your body. watch, you're working the muscles here. So just very briefly before you, feet relaxed, head here, we're lifting and down, we're lifting and down. Try and keep the buttocks relaxed. Lift and release. Keep going. I'm going to come and watch for a moment. Okay, you're probably about there for now. If you'd like to push back into child's pose, arch the back the opposite way, give it a bit of rest. Come up onto all fours and just give it a little bit of movement and relaxation. And we're going to roll back onto our backs again for a little bit more. Here. So again, check your positioning. You want to make sure your feet are hip width apart. Your head is elongated, your neck is elongated, your back is open against the mat. And I'm going to get you to bring your right leg into the chest, taking the hands underneath. And I just want you to bend and straighten that leg. So we're gently moving, dynamically stretching the hamstring, the back of the thigh, just getting some movement in there. Keep the foot soft. Keeping the weight of the knee over the body. So it doesn't matter if the knee doesn't totally straighten. I just want you to get some nice mobility in there. I'm supporting my leg either side of the thigh rather than holding behind on the muscle that we're working. And now I'd like you to try and straighten the leg. Now, again, be really aware of what's going on with your lower back here. You should still have the natural curve in the back. And watch that your leg isn't a long way away. If your hamstrings are tight and your leg is too far away from you, you're going to be pulling on your lower back. So bring it back in and bend that knee slightly, but keep the leg, the top of the legs extended towards you so that you're feeling the stretch in the back of the hamstring, the back of the upper thigh, or the back of the thigh even. And now from there, we're going to bend and point the toe. So be aware of your pelvis. Is it level? Supporting your leg as much as you need to. Now let's circle the foot one way and the other. Changing direction every now and again. And point and flex. Now let's flex that heel and push the heel towards the ceiling and extend the stretch down through the back of the leg. So the leg might be straight here if your leg is above your body, but if it's not, don't worry too much, as long as you're feeling the stretch in the back of the thigh, and then relax that foot. Okay, let's change sides. Exactly the same on the other. Hugging the leg in, left leg, hands underneath, bend and straighten the knee. Getting some mobility into the knee joint, beginning to stretch the hamstring slightly, supporting the leg. Be aware of what's going on with your lower back. You've still got that neutral spine. Pelvis is level. Okay, let's straighten that leg up. Again, it might not be quite straight, but you should be feeling the stretch in the back of the thigh. You're supporting the leg, ideally holding either side rather than pulling on the hamstring muscle itself. Feel the stretch in the back of the thigh, in the hamstring. Now from there, bend, flex and point the foot. So getting some mobility in the ankle. And let's circle it first one way and the other. And reverse. And again. And now flex the foot and push that foot towards the sky. Trying to straighten the leg if you can, but again, it's more important to keep the pelvis still, the neutral spine. As long as you're feeling that stretch in the back of the hamstring, if the leg's slightly bent, I'm not too worried. Supporting the leg. Okay, hugging that knee into the chest. Let's bring the other knee in to join it. Now we're going to go with both legs if you can. So here, very easy to push the lower back into the mat. So if you can control it. If you need to, you can take your hands either side of your buttocks and just feel what's going on there and support either side of your hips. Okay, both legs as straight as they will comfortably go without pulling on your lower back. Your back is in neutral. So if your legs tend to be further away from you, if your hamstrings are tight, your back might be overarched now. Now what I want you to do, if you can, is drop one leg to the floor, bring it back up again. Straight leg towards the floor, take it back up again. You can hold the leg that's up in the air if you want. Try and relax the toes. If that's too much, just make the movements small in the air. So be aware of your own limitations. If you can't go all the way to the floor, go as far as you can under control. Be really aware of what's going on with your pelvis. Is your back arching? Are you holding on the core? Are you breathing? Breathing out as the leg goes away from the body, in as it comes back up, out as you go down, in as you come back up. Last one, alternate. You should have been alternating sides. Make sure you've done the same number each side. Let's bring the knees back into the chest. Okay, sliding the left leg away. Now you can either keep the foot flat on the floor and the knee bent or straighten the leg. We're going to do leg circles with the straight leg. So it's whatever's comfortable for you. If you're more comfortable with the leg straight, that's fine. And we're going to do little circles. We're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. So if your leg is straight along the mat, it's a lot easier to keep that pelvis under control. If you have the knee bent, you're really going to have to control it on the core to stop that knee moving. And you're drawing circles on the ceiling. And again, I want you to be really aware of what's going on with your pelvis. And you can make this really small, particularly if you've got hip problems. Or if you're strong and under control, you can make quite large circles. But really be aware of what's going on with your pelvis, what's going on with your back. Are you under control? Change direction after every 2 or 3. When you've had enough, hug that knee into the chest. Bring it in. Releasing it down. Let's go to the other leg. Now again, be aware of what's going on with your lower back here. Maybe stick your fingers underneath. See what you need to do. If you need to bend that knee slightly, you can. If you're really struggling with that, you can even do it as a knee circle and let the foot drop. But most of us, I think, are now able to do it with an almost straight leg. Doesn't matter whether the other leg is bent up or straight along the mat. 2 or 3 one way. Let's then change direction. And again, change direction. Try and relax the toes, keep breathing. Engage your core, pull up the pelvic floor. Keep breathing. Now again, if you're finding you're under control, you can make that a little larger. I can't go very much larger here because the wall's in the way. And release, bringing that knee into the chest. Okay, feet and knees together, arms away from the body. Doesn't really matter whether they're palm up or palm down, but feet stay together, and you're going to drop the knees to the side, bringing the top foot away from the floor. Hold it, stretch, keeping the shoulders down on the floor. Breathing in as you come back up to center, Engage that core, neutral spine as you come back. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, go down to the other side, and we're going to hold it there for a moment, keeping the other shoulder, the opposite shoulder, down on the mat. Now, if you want to make this movement smaller, you can keep both feet on the floor, but ideally, both feet, the outside of the foot comes up, both feet stay together. Let's do that with the breath now, if you're happy to. A rotation movement again, but not under load. So just be really cautious with your spine if you've got osteoporosis, in that rotation movements can be rather dodgy. So maybe keep both feet on the floor and control that movement from the abdominals. But we want to get a little bit of rotation in the spine. We need to keep rotation in the body without adding too much weight. Take it to the other side. Come back. And we're going to go back to leg circles again. Let's make sure you've done the same number each side. I started to the right, I'm going to finish to the left. And then I'm going to bring my legs in one at a time to my chest. Straighten them both up in the air. This time feet and knees together. And I'm going to go with small circles. Now with this, you're going to feel your pelvis moving. It's really hard to control and keep it still. Now, I'm not asking you, this is quite an advanced movement if it's done in the originally intended form, but I'm just asking you to keep it small and let your pelvis relax now. Get some rotation and mobility in the pelvis. If you wanted to make it harder, you can go a bit further, but then you really need to control what's going on with your lower back. Engage your core. So this is really a small movement I'm getting you to do to get some mobility in the lower back, a little bit of rotation. Bring the knees back into the chest, holding them there. So what I want you to do now is take the legs out until you feel them bite into tabletop. You're going to tap your right toe down. You're going to tap your left toe down. You're going to bring your right leg back up. Engage your core and bring the left leg back up. Bring them back into the chest, let it relax. Watch what's going on with your lower back. Have you still got that neutral spine? Is your pelvis still in neutral? Is your core engaged? Let's go the other way, left leg until tabletop, until it bites. Then you're going to take left leg down. Right leg down. Left leg up. Right leg up. Really engage. Harder to get the second one up. Bring the knees back in. Right leg out until it engages. Left leg. Feel the bite. Right leg down. Left leg down. Right leg up. Make sure you engage the core. Pull up the pelvic floor before you lift the second leg. Really engaging. And then release in. Left leg to tabletop. Right leg to tabletop. Left leg to the floor. Really control it down nice and slowly. Right leg down even. Left leg up. Right leg up. Engaging that core, really control. And just give it a little release, keeping the spine in neutral. Let's go again. Right leg to table. Left leg until it just engages. Right foot to the floor. Left foot to the floor. Should be getting quite hard now. Right knee in to tabletop. Left knee in. Engage that core before you move. Breathing out as you come in and relax. Last one. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take it. Left leg to table. Right leg to table. Breathe in. Left leg to floor even. Breathe in. Right leg this time down to the floor. Left leg up. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, engage the core and bring that second leg up. Bring the knees in and just let the back sink into the mat. And a little bit of a massage of the back, give it a little bit of a roll, circle the knees, whatever feels good for you. Taking the legs one at a time to the floor. In fact, we'll keep the right leg up. Let's go for a hamstring stretch with that right leg. So as straight as you can here. It doesn't matter again if it's slightly bent, as long as you're supporting the leg and feeling the stretch in the back of the thigh and the hamstring. So you're taking the leg up towards straight. Weight of the leg is above the body. You've still got that neutral spine. And we're stretching through the hamstring. Lovely. Let's take the outside of that foot, outside of the ankle even, onto the other knee. Watch that that other knee stays in alignment, that you're not allowing the supporting leg to come inwards. And take your right leg away towards the floor. So just let it relax away. Figure 4 stretch. You can stay in that position there. You can come up onto your elbows, or you can come all the way up, depending on what feels best for you. Generally, this feels best for me. For most of you, you're going to be here or lying flat on the floor. Just let that relax. So you've got, I don't know if you hope you can see that okay. If I turn this way, in case you want to see what I'm talking about. From there, you're going to let that leg, that foot slide down as if you're crossing your legs, and hug those knees in. Either grabbing hold of the back leg, or if that's not comfortable to grab hold of for your upper body, grab this leg and you can let the other foot go to the floor. We're feeling a stretch in the outside, I need to turn around again, of the thigh. So you're either here or you're here, feeling that stretch. And release, hug the knee in, taking it down. Let's go to the other side. Neutral spine, bring the knee into the chest, straighten up, supporting the leg, taking the leg up as straight as you can get it, supporting either side of the thigh. We're holding this a little bit longer to develop the stretch. Okay, from there to that figure of 4. So the outside of the ankle comes onto the just above the right knee and opens out. And you have the choice. You stay lying down, you come onto your elbows, or you can come all the way up. Again, whichever's most comfortable for you. It's more important that your upper body is relaxed. You have the ability as well to adjust the level of the stretch by moving the foot position. So if that's not a good enough stretch, bring the foot in closer to you. Okay. From there, let that knee come in as if you're crossing your knees. And if you can, grab the bottom leg and let that stretch happen by itself. If you're finding it really hard to grab that back leg, grab the top leg, put the bottom leg on the floor. You're going to be in exactly the same position here or here. And you get a stretch through the outside of the thigh. So the muscles that you were working when we did that clam oyster. Okay, having done some stretch, I'm going to do some more muscle work. Let's take that foot back down to the floor. Take the feet together, toes out, heels out. And I want you to bring the feet back a little bit close to the bottom now. And you're going to just squeeze the buttocks and release. So I'm not asking you to lift off the floor yet. I want you to be aware that you've got a neutral spine. So just check your position of your pelvis. But you're going to squeeze the buttock muscles and release. Squeeze the buttock muscles and release. Try and keep the hamstrings relaxed. So it's just your buttocks. So it's your glute max, the main muscles in your bottom. Okay, from there, I'm going to ask you to try and roll up into bridge, one vertebra at a time. And then when you get to the top, you're going to squeeze those buttocks and relax. Try and relax your hamstrings. Make it about the buttocks, not the hamstrings. So we've just stretched out and relaxed the hamstrings. I want you to keep those relaxed. Squeeze your buttocks. And let's take that back down gently to the mat. Come back to neutral spine. Be aware of the position of your pelvis. back to neutral. Let's just squeeze those buttocks and relax. Squeeze those buttocks and relax. I'm going to change the focus now. Just relax the buttocks. Think about your abdominals, your tummy muscles. I want you to place your hands on the top of your belly. And without moving your back, I want you to pull your belly button back towards your spine. But not just your belly button. Think about trying to pull on a tight pair of trousers. You're pulling in almost like a corset across the front. Feel those muscles coming in without moving your spine. Engage. Pull up the pelvic floor. Relax. Engage the core. Engage the belly button back towards the spine. Pelvic floor. Release. Breathe in and breathe. And as you breathe out, engage. Breathe in and release. Breathe out and engage. Hold it there as you breathe in and out. Try and relax the buttocks, but keep the abdominals tight and release. Okay. Change the focus again back to your buttocks. You're going to squeeze and release. Now, as you squeeze, be aware that your spine and your pelvis is staying in neutral. We just want to squeeze the buttock muscles, not the hamstrings, so not the back of the thighs. Okay, relax and slowly roll up into bridge and squeeze and release. So the next option or next exercise is optional. Anyone with osteoporosis should avoid this one. If you've got a bony back and you really don't like it, you can too, but roll like a ball. So bringing the knees in, you can roll like a ball. This is not my favourite exercise at the moment. I think too much sitting during lockdown has made my back a lot stiffer coming up to sitting. So I'm going to do some work again for the legs. So you need to be able to sit facing me with your legs out in front. Now, if you cannot comfortably get your legs out straight without your back dropping back, please sit on a cushion or a block. So you need to make sure that your pelvis is in neutral. So be really aware of what's going on there. If your hamstrings are tight, your pelvis will tip back. No shame at all in bending the knees slightly. You should be feeling the tightness in the back of the leg slightly. So bend them if you need to. Feet hip width apart, sit tall, arms either side. And I want you to retract your chin. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see. Retract your chin and you're going to fold from the waist until you feel it in the back of the legs. Now, if you were struggling here and your back was already back, you're going to feel the stretch here, so you're not going to come any further forward. But keep that chin retracted. Keep those shoulders back. It doesn't matter whether you are here or here. It matters that you're getting a stretch in the back of the hamstrings. So it's all about the hamstrings. Again, if you're finding that that's pulling on your back, bend the knees slightly and then move until you feel the stretch in the hamstrings. Try and push the knees down. Okay. Now from there, if you can, and you might need to lean back slightly, lean back, and we're going to lift the legs. Now, I know a couple of you aren't going to manage this either because of your arm or your leg, but those that can, you're going to lift and lower. Now, if you're finding that you can't get the leg off the ground at all, leaning back will always help a little bit. If you're finding it too easy and you're lifting the leg very high, maybe you need to sit a little bit more upright. Really work those muscles. Well done. Give it a bit of a shake out. From that position, we're going to take the legs wide. So exactly the same thing with your pelvis. You need to check where your position is. Legs as wide as is comfortable, so it doesn't matter whether they're here or wider. Feet are relaxed. Watch that you're not letting the legs drop out to the side. Keep them upright. Sit nice and tall. And again, I want you to fold from the waist coming forward. Now, some of you are going to be leaning back slightly. I want to be feeling the stretch here. I like to take my arms generally behind and push forward rather than leaning forward. Helps keep the position of the shoulders in a better position. Keep that chin retracted. You've got a grapefruit under your chin, retracted, and you're just folding from the waist, or trying to fold from the waist. Now again, the next exercise is rotation. Anyone with osteoporosis needs to be a little bit cautious here. I'm going to move forward because I'm right against the wall here. And we're going to take the arms along the knee and slide down towards the foot, keeping this other hip on the floor. So it doesn't matter how far you go. If you only get as far as your knee, that's fine. I've got short legs. I can get quite a long way. Coming back. Always open up and reset. You don't have to take the arms high. Turn to the other side and slide down as far as is comfortable. Again, if you've got trouble with your shoulder at the moment, you might just turn the body and fold down, hold the leg, whatever you need to do. Keeping that chin retracted. Think about keeping that upper spine as straight as possible, coming back center and return. So keeping this movement slow and controlled, breathing out as you go down, breathing in as you come up. Breathing out as you go down. Breathing in as you come up. Out as you go down, keeping that hip, both hips on the floor. It doesn't matter how far you go. If you're only going as far as your knee, that's absolutely fine. Don't overdo it. We just want to be a little bit more mobile than we were yesterday. Once more each side. And I'm going to finish off with some stretches that we haven't done in a long time. So, again, sitting with the legs out in front, hip width apart. If you need to be sitting on a block, that's fine. You're going to bend your left knee up. Right knee stays straight. Watch that it stays in that position as you take the leg over. And you're going to stretch. You're going to feel that. Pull that arm. This arm pulls against the leg that's bent over. So it's opposite arm to the bent leg. Other hand comes behind you and you're going to gently rotate, but the emphasis is on stretching the hip of that bent leg. Take the head round gently to follow. Don't force the upper body, it's just a gentle rotation of the upper body. Beautiful. We're going to come back the other way, so you have a choice. Keep that knee where it is, don't let it flop in. Elbow on the inside, and you can either keep the hand up if that feels good for you. I like to take my hand down onto my ankle. Other hand right in the centre of my buttock and rotating back. And I'm using that knee to help rotate and get a little bit of rotation in the upper back. But keeping the neck relaxed, let the head follow. Okay, and release. Inside of the foot, if you can, to the inside of the hip. This leg should be in the same position it has been all the way through, pointing forward. Let that knee drop to the ground. You can take that foot slightly further forward if you need to. If that's really uncomfortable, take the leg out to the side and open it out. But those that can, open out through the hip. It's one thing I seem to have got better at during lockdown is sitting with my legs in this sort of position, cross-legged. I seem to have spent a lot of time sitting down, sitting cross-legged. Okay, and release. Let's change sides, exactly the same on the other side. So bringing the right knee in, keeping that other leg in that neutral position, pointing forward, hip, knee, ankle in alignment, taking that foot over. That bottom leg doesn't move. So this time, your left arm is going to hug that right leg. You're pulling that leg in. I quite often put the crook of my elbow around the knee and pull, whatever feels comfortable for you. This arm goes close to the buttock. You're sitting tall, head is upright, spine stacked, and just gently rotate. But the emphasis is more on stretching through that hip. We're going to go back in the other direction, keeping this knee stationary, elbow on the inside, either hand up or hand to the ankle. Other arm goes behind, and just gently pulling your left shoulder back and rotating the head to look over your shoulder. And release. Inside of that foot comes against the thigh, wherever is comfortable. So it doesn't matter if it's down by the calf, just opening out through the hips best you can. Adapt accordingly, open out to the side if that's all you can manage. Go with what your body is telling you. Again, spine is stacked, head is in line, chin retracted, shoulders back. Rib cage in neutral, so watch you're not thrusting that forward, it's nicely aligned. Pelvis is in neutral, so all the time our posture is good. Watch you not let this foot drop out to the side. I've just noticed mine. I'm going to bring it back so that the knee is pointing to the sky. Beautiful. Well done. Thank you, ladies. And any gents who might watch the replay.